This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online, whether you're just starting out or managing a growing brand. Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website, engage with audiences, and sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place, all on your terms. I feel like I have worn this t-shirt a lot in many videos recently, and it's because I like it.
I like it.
Hey Spuds, it's Jamie. Welcome back to another video of Personal Channel. I don't know, but welcome either way. I'm very glad to have you here, and today we are going through a little subreddit called Ask Transgender, and this is basically where trans people who are questioning their gender, people who don't know anything about the trans community, people who have a trans loved one, go to ask all sorts of trans related questions, and people on Reddit answer them. And I also like to dip in and have a look at this subreddit and answer some myself on the channel and just have a little chat about them. So are you ready for the questions?
Get ready.
Should I explain to a co-worker why my trans employee doesn't want to listen to her talk about Harry Potter? That would be a very nice ally move to do that. Yeah, I honestly feel like there's some people who just really love the franchise, but who have no idea to very little idea about how heinous J.K. Rowling has become and the damage she is causing to the trans community. Yeah, for anybody watching who isn't sure, not only is she very, very like vocally transphobic in terms of like Twitter and speaking at transphobic conferences and things like that, but she also literally puts her money that she makes from Harry Potter towards funding anti-trans causes. So really supporting Harry Potter these days, not the thing you do if you want to be an ally to the trans community. So should this person explain to somebody else why talking about Harry Potter in front of a trans person is not the best thing to do? Yes, would be the short answer to the question, but let's read on. I sincerely believe the person who gushed about their excitement for the new Harry Potter series didn't know about the harm J.K. Rowling is doing to trans people. I do feel like it's possible for there to be people out there who don't know. If I believe that there's people out there who really don't know anything at all, that there's even a smidge of controversy around J.K. Rowling at the minute, not sure.
Maybe. I don't know.
But maybe people who are chronically offline, maybe. I feel like saying something might be worthwhile as a learning experience for her, especially since she's also a manager. I think a lot of cis employees would find the subject off-putting too, so it feels worth being aware of. The employee who vented to me about it said she didn't care whether I said anything or not. It feels like I should privately and succinctly explain to the other manager. If she reacts poorly, that feels like even more of a reason for the conversation to happen. Any reason why I shouldn't say anything. Little edit, we're a tech company in San Francisco, pretty queer friendly. This is pretty clearly not a situation where I have an obligation to intervene, but I'm leaning towards doing so anyways. My thing is, like, on a personal level, to be an ally to that trans person in your life, that would be a great thing to do, to step in and just gently and briefly explain why it causes upset. Because if it's something that this person is going to bring up regularly, and there's a trans person who's made very uncomfortable and other cis people who are like, well, we know what J.K. Rowling's doing right now and we don't want to talk about Harry Potter or hear about it either, then it might be a good opportunity to shut that down from happening again. I don't know the ins and outs in terms of workplace etiquette with this, or like managerial responsibility, or like what line should be towed in terms of what's okay, but sometimes maybe it is just okay to mention something, like even if it's not strictly protocol. The overarching question is like, take it to a generalized hypothetical. If one employee is saying things that's making other employees uncomfortable, would you intervene? Probably. So I feel like take it away from being trans and being Harry Potter in this instance, and you've got an employee who's saying things, she's in a managerial position, so it definitely seems like she shouldn't be saying things that would make other employees feel uncomfortable because there's that imbalance of power. I do think it would be appropriate to say something. She's talking about anything else that was making another group of employees or employees generally feel uncomfortable. I feel like people would say stuff. So yes, I feel like it probably would be a good idea. At the very least, just be a moment to hopefully pass on the knowledge to somebody else of the damage that J.K. Rowling is causing and the hurt that she's causing, because I don't think that can be spread far enough or wide enough. It should be there in every corner, everywhere.
I'd kind of want to shout it from the rooftops.
Friend doesn't want me to use the right pronouns. Interesting. Okay, I want to read on. My friend recently came out to me as a trans woman. My friend hasn't started transitioning and asked me not to use she, her pronouns. I don't understand why. Aren't I misgendering him if I use those pronouns? My friend also doesn't want to do any kind of girl stuff yet. I don't know how to be a good friend and ally in this situation. Honestly, the best thing to do is take your friend's lead. If you are sat there going, I am totally accepting of who you are, and my role and my concern here is to be the best friend and the best ally that I can be to you, person who's just come out to me, then take their lead on what they're saying they are doing and what they're comfortable with. It very well could be that you're your friend has opened up to you because they feel super comfortable with you, and you could be one of the first people or the first person that they've told, and they may not be ready to transition in the wider sense. So I know for me, being trans and knowing that I was trans was something that I knew in my head for a lot longer than the people around me knew. And even when I came out to my parents first, I didn't do everything straight away that I wanted to, because there were some things that I wasn't comfortable with yet. There were some things that I didn't feel like I wanted to do until I told everybody, such as change my name. So I came out to my parents as a trans man and saying that I was uncomfortable with she, her pronouns and my dead name, but at the time I didn't have another name. So I was comfortable to switch over pronouns straight away, but the name didn't change immediately, and it was all very awkward, and then the pronouns were really hit and miss. So every trans person's journey is different, and just because your friend doesn't feel ready to use the pronouns that they eventually will likely want to, doesn't mean that you are currently misgendering them. That's what they have requested, that's what they're comfortable with. It could be that they are so super duper early on in their transition that they would find it jarring for one or two friends to use she, her pronouns whilst everybody else was using he, him pronouns. So they just want to wait until they can do that en masse, if that makes sense. But you are not being a bad friend or a bad ally by using the pronouns that they have requested, even though for you it feels wrong because they've come out as a trans woman. You're finding it uncomfortable to use he, him pronouns. If those are the pronouns that your friend has requested, I would just roll with that until they say otherwise. It sounds like they're probably so early on in their transition, they're not ready to take certain steps, or they're not ready to do certain things because not enough people know. Maybe that's the vibe. I don't know. But I think just taking their lead is the best thing to do. And on the topic of things to do, I wanted to take a little snooze break in the video to talk to you about something very important. And that is introducing you to my brand new, very real, not at all made up business venture, the To Don't List Pro. I recently took some time off from working and from the internet for the first time since Christmas. I did not have a break from work in over 9 months. I was very tired. And it got me thinking that sometimes doing less can be a downright dream, and napping can be incredibly healing. So I am introducing you all to my To Don't List Pro business, the place you come to learn how to do nothing perfectly and how to integrate more naps into your life. And it would not have been possible without Squarespace. Big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. The all-in-one website design platform where your ideas can wake up and flourish before you then go back to bed for a quick nap. Squarespace's cutting-edge design tools mean that anyone can build a unique website that makes an impact. You can even use Squarespace's Blueprint AI, their AI-enhanced website builder, to create a fully customized site. It's so easy you could basically do it with your eyes shut, ideally mid-nap with a pillow nearby. And when you're running an unproductivity business, it's very important to keep everyone updated on the latest things not to do. That's where Squarespace's pre-built layouts come in handy. You can arrange page elements easily and quickly to showcase your content, add or remove blocks to create a custom look for specific purposes, including a blog, which is great for keeping everybody up to date, as well as contact, about, products, and more. It's basically a drag and drop, or in this case, a drag and doze. Squarespace also lets me run email campaigns to engage with my fellow doing nothingers. I can set up email automations to stay connected with users and schedule emails to reach my To Don't List audience at the perfect nap o'clock, helping us grow our snoozy little community. Charbonne's actual Squarespace website was super easy and fun to make, and not going anywhere. Squarespace gave us the freedom to get creative, link our social media platforms, and show off our podcast 1-800-DRAMA. To get started yourself, go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to add the pillow to your mattress, go to squarespace.com/Jammidodger to launch your very own website and get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. The link is in the description box. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get back to those wonderful questions. Would it be a bad idea to lie for safety? I do not see why that would be a bad idea. As long as the lie does not then hurt other people, I think you'll be fine. My trans wife and I, trans man, are driving across the country for vacation and have unfortunately had to stop in some of the deep red states for food and potty breaks. I'm automatically very much on your side to lie for safety. Yes, lie. Do all the lying to stay safe, please. My question is, if my wife starts being questioned about the bathroom she's going into, would it be a bad idea for her to lie and say she has something like endometriosis or PCOS? She's absolutely gorgeous, but does have a strong jawline and a bit of stubble, so I'm worried someone will go after her. Or are there better alternatives? I'm hoping people just don't say anything, but you never know in this political climate. Literally lie. Honestly, please, like if either of you feel uncomfortable in that kind of situation in a public place, lie. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. What would be a very good idea is to probably try and minimize the amount of places that you use the toilet publicly if you're feeling that uncomfortable. But I have also heard of an app about finding safe bathrooms. One second. So it's called Refuge Restrooms, and it's a web application that seeks to provide safe restroom access for transgender, intersex, and gender non-conforming individuals. Users can search for restrooms by proximity to a search location, add new restroom listings, as well as comment and rate existing listings. So use apps like that. Go to refugerestrooms.org for more information. I'm sure you can find more, but that's just the one that I have heard of. So use apps like that as well to try and map out a journey where you would minimize the chances of this happening as much as possible. But I wish you all the best and all the safety, and do lie to remain safe. That is fine. How do you deal with old objects bearing your dead name? Not asking for advice, just curious about different experiences. On one hand, I hate seeing that name, mostly because I haven't been able to change it legally, so it still feels threatening to me. I had a book signed by a comic artist I liked years ago with my dead name on it, and I'm planning on asking him to re-sign it with my name on his next meetup, though I have to research his current views on trans rights. Ha, it's been too long. Interesting. I'm going to finish reading the post before I talk about it. On the other hand, I'm emotionally attached to many of those objects since they carry precious memories. Depending on the object, of course, I feel like erasing the dead name will also erase part of that memory, no matter how uneasy I feel about it. There's old journals, childhood drawings, embroidered gifted clothes, some jewelry my now deceased grandma gave me. Those are all hard to watch, harder to show to another person, but still very dear to me. I guess I wish they weren't like that in the first place, but I can't change the past, so I'll make peace with it. This is a really interesting topic, and honestly, a question that I wish I'd asked in the early days of my transition. Now, obviously everybody's going to be different, but for me, I legally changed my name in September 2011. So that's been 14 years, very nearly half my life. Like give it another 3 years and it will be half my life that I have been Jamie, which yeah, very cool. But I do remember back in the early days, and it still does mean stuff to me now, my parents really sweetly like made an effort for like the first like year or so to buy me little bits and pieces with my name on. So like they got me like a little Christmas decoration stocking with Jamie on it and just a couple other bits that had Jamie on, and it felt very euphoric and validating, and I still have all of that stuff in keepsakes. What I also have a lot of are things with my dead name on, but what I also did back then was get rid of a lot of stuff that had my dead name on, and it is something I look back on and I feel quite sad about, because there was a portion of stuff that I just couldn't get rid of. Like, bizarre example, I used to collect stamps when I was a child, and like in the UK, I don't know how it works in other countries, they release like special edition stamps. So for example, there might be like a Doctor Who series of stamps. I don't think I ever got one. I would have been straight to the post office if there had been a Doctor Who set whilst I was collecting.
Classic.
And if you go on the day they're released, they have a specific name. I can't remember. I'm not going to get too nerdy about it today.
I'm a nerd.
If you go on the day they're released, you basically get a special envelope with like a leaflet insert about the stamps, and the whole set of stamps is put on this envelope, and then you address it to yourself and post it to yourself, so you also get the stamp marks. So you get like this first day edition set of stamps, and I did that for basically every set of stamps for quite a long time. They're all addressed to my dead name. I was a kid at the time, so my mum would come with me and put the stamps on, and she would write it quite nicely. She had no idea. This is just how she did it. My mum would do my first initial of my dead name and then my surname. And so like it doesn't feel quite as bad. On some of them she did write Miss though, because she's like, let me be all formal about it. But those were things I couldn't get rid of. I still have them all. They're very special to me. But there were other things that are also very special to me, or were very special to me, that I got rid of. So I'm a very sentimental person. I used to keep all of my birthday cards from my parents and people that I was really close to at the time that I got the cards, like right back from when I was about 10 years old. And what I did when I first came out is I had this like pile of cards in a keepsake box, and I went through them. And I think I just did this because I happened to come across them when I was very new to changing my name, and my dead name caused a lot of like triggering and like raw emotions and hurt. I ripped all the cards in half and threw out the message but kept the art side of it, like the cover, which feels a little redundant personally because I was keeping them for the sentimentality, not the art or the pictures on them. So that's all gone. And then there was a bunch of like books that my parents had written in that I got rid of, and like old school books and things that I got rid of. But then there's also a bunch of other things I kept. So the things I got rid of I really like miss, and I wish that someone had just kind of sat me down in that moment and said, maybe somebody did and I just don't remember and I didn't listen to them, but I wish I just had a message of like, you're not always going to hate seeing that name as much, even when connected with you from the past. It's not going to feel this bad forever, and there's going to be a time when you can look at it in relation to sentimental items that you own and not feel shit about it and be happy that you've kept it. Even though you still don't love seeing that name associated with you, it's not going to hurt how it does now, because I would have loved to have kept those items. So like the advice I'd give to this is, if you're really early in transition, find a box and put those things in it. If they're things that you don't really care about and it's got your dead name on it, just get rid of it if it makes you uncomfortable. But if they're things with sentimental value, or particularly things from relatives who are no longer with you or friends who are no longer with you, and that's something that they gave to you, put it in a little box, or a big box, or a massive box. I don't know how much stuff you might have, and put it away for a few years or 6 months or however long you feel like you need. Just put it away and let yourself progress in your transition and grow in comfort within yourself, and revisit it. Or maybe never revisit it, but just don't throw it away prematurely. If in like 5 years time you're still like, I hate having this stuff, even knowing that it's still here makes me feel icky, go for it, get rid of it. But if you're like 3 months after you've come out, you just changed your name and you're looking at it and you're like, ew, I don't want to see this name, but I really love this thing and I love the person that gave it to me and I don't want to get rid of it, but I have to. You don't. Put it away, don't think about it for a while, and revisit it later when you're in a different place with your transition. That would be my advice, because even now I don't love it, but I really wish that I'd kept a lot of the things that had been given to me back then. I feel very similarly to how this person has described things. Like that's how I felt back when I first transitioned, but I did make a, in the moment, very emotional decision to rip up some stuff and throw some stuff away or give it away, which I wish I hadn't done. Sorry, that was a bit of a ramble. I hope that was useful. I think my child is a trans lesbian and I have no idea how to approach the topic with them comfortably. Interesting. I recently found out that my 14-year-old born male has been presenting themselves as a girl online. They read GL manga often, I'm not sure what that is, watch/listen to a lot of WLW, I know what that is, media, and use PFP from them on sites as well, profile pictures. Okay, this parent is all up in the lingo. They know more lingo than me, although with a 14-year-old technically could be the same age as me. So I find that really strange, not in a bad way, but just how when you're in your early 30s, you could make friends with people who have teenage kids, and you could also make friends with people who are like 4 years off from having kids. Digression. Which is completely fine with me. I never felt the need to make things gender specific, but a few months back, I glanced at their phone and noticed a message from their friend who's trans saying, don't say anything about us being queer in front of my stepdad, right before they were leaving to a concert. I do just want to mention, I do hope it was a glance and I accidentally saw this message rather than a looking at your kid's phone. I'm not going to go into it any further, but that is just a generalized thing I want to put out. I tried to ask my child about the text when they came back home, but they completely shut down and didn't reply. I don't know if they're scared because we live in a small, mostly conservative town, worried about our extended family's reaction, or if they were just embarrassed, but I was a bit sad because I've always told my children that they can talk to me about anything and have never told anyone the secrets they share with me. I think you can be the most respectful, secret-keeping, accepting parent in the entire world. If somebody is not ready to talk to you about something, they're not going to talk to you about it. I think the best thing to do is to continue reinforcing that message of, I'm here for you. You don't have anything to be embarrassed about with who you are or how you want to express or what your identity is. I will accept and love you no matter what. Speak to me whenever you're ready. If you leave those doors open, when they are ready, they will talk to you. But I knew my parents would be accepting. I was like 99.9% convinced they'd always expressed to me that they would love me no matter what, that they would support and accept me, whoever I was and whatever I wanted to do with my life and that kind of thing. It still took me a while, and I was older than this person's kid. I was 16 when I figured things out and started privately experimenting with my expression and thinking about my gender and like being part of like forums online and stuff. And it still took me a really long time to speak to my parents. So that's okay. Like if my mum had approached me earlier than I felt ready to speak about it, I probably also would have shut that conversation down. To be clear, I'm 100% okay with them being gay, trans, or whatever they decide, as long as they're happy and healthy. Should I just wait until they come to talk to me about it, or be more proactive and bring bring up the subject myself? And how can I make them feel less awkward about the conversation? Oh my God. I think I've already said everything that I would say in response to those questions. I personally would be more passive about it, like dropping hints that you would be fine and that you would accept them no matter what and all that kind of thing. And then they will come to you when they're ready. The one thing I'd say to consider, I have no idea because I have no other context to your relationship with your child or how this came about or how common it is for you to see messages on their phone, or generally how common it is for parents to see messages on teenage kids' phones. I don't know. But I wonder if part of the reason why they could have shut down that conversation specifically in that moment is because you were bringing up the fact that you saw a message on their phone from their friend that was like between them and their friend. So maybe there was a little bit of like discomfort that you'd seen a private message on their phone. Maybe there was a bit of worry about you seeing a message that their friend had sent that was clearly their friend wanting to keep and needing to keep something secret. So it might not necessarily have been about your kid's identity in that moment. It could have been how they felt about you seeing that message, a message on their phone / that message specifically. I have no idea. Maybe if like this was a back and forth with OP, they'd be like, oh no, it's fine. This is something that happens regularly and they don't mind. This was specifically about me approaching the topic. Either way, my advice is the same of just, I'm here for you whenever you're ready. I will wait. That's what I would do. My gorgeous daughter is having a vaginoplasty and I need to get my questions right. Oh, this is very sweet.
That's sweet of you.
My beautiful, brave daughter, 25, will be taking another step down her transitioning journey by having her first meeting with a surgeon about a vaginoplasty procedure next month. The description is just really heartwarming. My beautiful, brave daughter, another step in her transitioning journey. It's just cute. We live in France. She's been taking hormones for about 2.5 years now. She had FFS, which is facial feminization surgery, a few months ago, and it went really well. She loves the results. No judgment. I will just say, like, on the body, regardless of trans or not, 4 months, like, so FFS a few months ago, and then having vaginoplasty next month, that's really, really tight timing. Like, these are big surgeries. I would want a year at least between them for my body and my healing. That just seems really quick for any kind of major surgeries to be that close together. But medical professionals know more than me. This person knows their body more than I do, so I will leave them to it. It just strikes me as being quite close together. The next step is huge. As her mother, I'm here to love and protect her and ask every single possible question imaginable. This is definitive. We need to be sure. Okay, so this is like you as a mother being fully supportive of your kid having this procedure, but just feeling like you want to do due diligence to make sure that they've thought everything and anything that's possible through and they're aware of everything. That's the vibe I'm getting. See, this person sounds really supportive and loving towards their trans daughter, so I'm not getting the vibe that this is like,
oh, but I don't think this is a good idea and I want to like try and question them out of it.
or like, you know, I don't think they're sure enough or anything. This feels more like, I just want to check that my kid is ready for this step, which I think is fine, as long as it's not pushed further once they confirm, yeah, this is good, this is what I need to do, I'm ready. And then it's like, okay, I support you in this. I have all the elementary questions possible. I work in healthcare, so from a medical viewpoint, I've got this, but it is the whole plethora of questions I don't know as I am so new. Not new, knew this was coming for years, and with love, that I'm posting here. I'm a little confused by that sentence. I love her to the moon and beyond and back, so want to see with you lovely peeps about what I need to put on my radar. What else do I need to be thinking about other than medical care? What are the multitude of psychological aspects I need to be thinking about? How is recovery? What should I be asking about now? In other words, how can I be there for my baby? Thank you. This is sweet. One thing I would say is if you feel like as a parent, you're fully supportive, you are like on board with this, you accept your kid no matter who she is and all of this stuff, and you are supportive of her having this procedure, and you've got the healthcare medical side of things covered because of your profession, I wouldn't bombard her. I feel like this will be something that she will have thought through, she will have discussed with the medical professionals that she's been seeing as part of her transition. Not that I'm getting this vibe necessarily, but just as general advice, I wouldn't give her like a grilling about it and like ask a huge amount of questions, because that might be very overwhelming, and they're probably all questions that she's already asked herself or been asked by other people. If you just wanted as a parent to sanity check her thought process, you could just say, what are you thinking about this? Like, how did your appointments go? What did you speak about? If you're comfortable sharing, that kind of thing. And then then just asking if she's aware of the recovery and if she's feeling ready, and if there's anything you can do to support her with that, like mentally or like physically helping with care after surgery, that kind of thing. And then just asking the general question of like, how can I best be there to support you in this? Like, what do you need from me? Whether it's aftercare, whether it's driving to appointments, whether it's emotional things, whether it's checking in with you every so often, whether it's doing this or whatever. If you want to be there in the best way possible, the best thing to do is ask your kid how you can do that. I personally would not bombard with a huge amount of questions. She's 25, she's been on hormones, she's already had surgery related to being trans. Like, these are all questions she's very likely to have been asked already multiple times by the healthcare professionals she sees and by other people around her. I think this is literally just a let me know what I can do to best support you kind of situation. I'm just trying to think about when I had my lower surgery. I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your daughter, but I wouldn't want either of my parents to like ask me a lot of questions about that surgery in particular. They just asked how they could be there, and I was like, I'll give you a shout if I need anything. Thank you. I'm all set. And they were like, are you feeling ready for this? Are you sure? Kind of vibe. And I was just like, yes, yeah, you know, I've already thought this through very well. Thank you for checking. And it wasn't like a are you sure in a kind of questioning whether it was the right thing for me to do, but just like a parental check-in of like just making sure, you know. And that was plenty personally. But the other thing is, you know your daughter the best. So if there's something you feel like she needs, then you can approach her with that. And the final one for today is called Everyone is Entitled to Their Opinion, as a quote. So this is not a question. I wonder where this is going. Well, it's not a question yet. The title is not a question. Shut up. Sorry. What's the healthiest way of dealing with being told this almost every time I've encountered or seen transphobia? Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I hate this. It's quite a long post, but just straight off the bat, my go-to response is you can have your opinion. Yes, everyone is entitled to holding their own opinion. However, opinions do not trump facts. So it is factually and scientifically accurate that trans people exist in this world and that gender affirming care is something that should be accessible to trans people, as that is what leads to the best mental health outcomes for trans people. And it's also the case where your opinions should not infringe on other people's human rights. And oftentimes transphobia, where people are like,
It's just an opinion. I'm just sharing my opinion.
well, no, because you're either causing hurt by telling some kind of shitty joke or making a bad comment, or you are somebody with influence and power or money or all of the above, and your opinion is causing real life harm to a community of people who are literally not impacting your life whatsoever. So when your opinion goes outside of your bubble and just being your worldview, and you start putting that on other people and expecting other people to live by your worldview and your opinion, and that has a negative impact on those around you, that is when you are not simply just entitled to have an opinion and use that as an excuse to get away with bigoted behavior. Put it on any other marginalized community that is discriminated against. Homophobia is not just being entitled to an opinion. Racism is not just being entitled to an opinion. There are things that are still very prevalent. There are things that are still excused as being,
I'm entitled to my opinion.
but they are somewhat less acceptable in the mainstream than transphobia is right now. So if we put it in a different context, although things are getting worse, we did say for ages it starts with trans people, but it won't end with trans people because they're coming for your rights next. Unless you are a white, cis, straight man with money, really, yeah, they're coming for you. The people who are coming for trans people right now, they're going to work their way up. Anyway, I have a family member who won't stop. They're not maliciously transphobic. They've accepted me more or less. I think they just assume because I'm upset that I'm militantly against anyone who thinks differently from me and it's getting to me. Like, if you can see that your opinion is causing hurt, like, we can also all have opinions, but we don't have to voice them in front of the people that they could cause hurt to. So I might have an opinion that an acquaintance's new haircut is absolutely atrocious, does not suit their face, whatever, just a bad haircut choice, not something I would ever go for, and I don't think it suits them. However, if they come to me and they genuinely ask and they're like, is my haircut bad? I would gently share an opinion because they have asked for it. However, if they're all excited about their new haircut but I am not going to shit on their parade and say, oh no mate, it looks terrible, awful. Because if they are happy about it, if it's what they like, why is it my place to get involved? It doesn't impact my life whatsoever. Very trivial example, because somebody would not have their rights taken away based on having a bad haircut or going to a bad hairdresser, but it's a small example of how you can hold an opinion, but whether you need to voice it in front of certain people or within certain contexts, we should always be asking ourselves that as like part of a social filter, and about whether we're going to cause more harm than good by saying certain things. And transphobia, voicing that out loud, right from just impacting the one trans person that hears you say it, all the way up to within politics, it impacting trans people's literal basic rights. People really need to start questioning if they should voice their transphobia in those ways in front of those people and on those public stages. Like, fundamentally, yes, everyone has their own opinions. I don't believe in thought crimes, and even if their opinions make me want to hit them, they should still be allowed to have them, but there's a difference between having them and airing them, right? I should have read on. That is exactly what I was saying. Everyone's entitled to have their opinions, but whether they should be spoken is a different matter, or spoken within certain situations. If you and all your little transphobic buddies want to have like a book club style meetup every month and like bitch about trans people, but it doesn't leave that room, sure, because you're not actually hurting anybody except yourselves, because that sounds miserable.
A truly miserable existence.
But when you then start like going on Twitter, going on TV, going on the radio, writing into politicians, causing some big stink, holding anti-trans protests, that impacts trans people's lives. And just stop and think for a second about how trans people have actually impacted your life, because the answer is they haven't. It also feeds into the whole conversation of freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence. So you can also air those opinions, but you're not free from being called out on them if they're shitty or bigoted. It's driving me insane slightly, because you know, if I've been trapped one-on-one in a room with someone I respect while they went on a transphobic rant to me, who they don't know is trans, being told everyone is entitled to their opinion while I'm having a panic attack after just makes me want to scream. Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, that sounds really sucky. JKR is spewing more garbage. Oh, everyone is entitled to their opinion. Now see, that is a prime example of where an opinion should have stayed in somebody's head or with their pals over a cigar and a glass of wine, not making it onto a public stage where it then literally impacted politics. And people used these in political settings, and she is using her money to fund anti-trans causes. Like, what the That's beyond an opinion. That is beyond being entitled to an opinion, because people are not entitled to impact the human rights of others. Politician says trans people should be imprisoned. Don't get mad, they're allowed their opinions. I agree, everyone can have an opinion. That's not the problem here. How do I deal with this? Some people are not ever going to listen. Some people will always just be a brick wall, and it is the most frustrating thing in the world. And personally, this is not the solution for everybody, so I'm not saying this person should do it, but for me, what has worked best is just walking away from that situation and either letting that person like grow in their own time, where I don't have to be subjected to their shitty airing of their shitty opinions. And then sometimes those people have grown over the years and they've come back around and apologized. Other times they haven't, and I just don't have contact with them anymore because I cannot be dealing with that. There's enough of it going on in the news and in politics and on social media that we don't have to deal with that in our personal lives as well, with people that we know on a personal level. We don't deserve to have that. I know it's way easier said than done to just like shut the door on people, and it really does depend on who those people are to you, but it's the thing that I've found has lifted the biggest mental weight from my life at certain times. The other thing is they are being incessantly repetitive. You be incessantly repetitive. Yes, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but that opinion deserves to be called out when it causes real life harm to marginalized communities. So why is it okay for this politician to spew transphobic hate that then impacts the lives of trans people? Why is that just an opinion when it actually hurts people? Why is it still okay? And maybe use different examples. Maybe depending on who you're speaking to, use an example that they could potentially personally relate to, or they have a loved one that they fully support in whatever identity they may have that they could relate to through them, and be like, well, what if said politician said this thing about this other group that was incredibly hateful, incited hate, led to policy changes that took away this group's rights? How would you feel then about that being labeled as just an opinion? And then you can have a discussion about how everybody deserves human rights, everybody deserves equal rights. And when cis people get on a stage and start trying to take away trans people's rights simply because trans people are trans, that's no longer just an opinion. That was another ramble. This has been a very waffle-filled video.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
But I hope you liked it. If you did, think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing, but no pressure if you don't want to. You also see some names going up the screen right now of my wonderful Patreons. I have Patreon, which is a place where you get extra content, behind the scenes stuff, your name called out in videos as a thank you, and the lowest tier starts at £1 a month. So if you want to go support me over there, it really goes a long way to helping the creation of these videos. So thank you so much. But again, there is no pressure, but a big shout out to my top tier Patreons: Albar, Bildad the Shoeite, I think I'm getting it better, Chloe, Dylan Irving, Eldon K, Gosco, Iona Balash, Jesse Entwistle, Marv Mallow, Max Mates Mods, Night Soul, Nesta, Rachel Raptor, Randy, Riley Ray, River Champignon, Sally Drew, Sarah Hobbs, Sienna Lamb, Slayer, Spring Metal Dragon, Sugar Joe, TNS Mum, The Paisley Prince, The Third Hat Man, and Ginger Blues. Thank you so much. And thank you again to everybody who watched this video. I hope to see you again next time. Much love. Bye.